there is something about us, about the way we have been wired as human beings, that we are very much attracted to anything that contains components that we call beautiful. We are attracted to things that are beautiful. Now, beauty can exist on a physical level, it can exist on an emotional level, it can exist on an intellectual level, and if you're evolved enough to have a spirit inside you, it can also exist on a spiritual level. Now, what usually happens to most of us, the way love works and blossoms and evolves and just erupts inside us, is the following. So let's go back to the iron and bronze and the silver, okay? So this is the body, or this is a pleasure, this is power, control over your physical life, and this is, say, relationships, okay? What usually happens to us is this. First, we fall in love with someone physically. So first there is the eros, which is profoundly physical. After having lots of sex and having gone to lots of parties with this person, then there comes a point where you want to have a decent conversation. It needs to be meaningful, okay? Now, if for the two of you become a bit more serious, you need to make sure that this person is intelligent enough to navigate through the difficulties of life without going completely nuts. Okay? Usually what happens is, first of all, what we don't really understand is the following. You like someone because of the way they look. That's a tremendous driving force. Okay? At this stage, you don't really understand that once a desire is fulfilled, boredom will slowly seep into the relationship. The problem as human beings is this: the moment you begin to spend time with anything, a good amount of time with anything, you create attachment. Okay? It's not that you want to be with the person, the memories won't leave you alone. Your body has laid next to this person for about 5 years or 2 years. You see your kids on a daily basis. It's not that you love them. You're addicted to them. Okay? Now, down here, you have come to realize there is no longer any life to your relationship. But your name is on the lease. You bought sofas together. Okay? You're cooking together. You're going shopping together. Now, you may not talk. You may not even be intimate with the person anymore that much, okay? But you still live under the same roof. Okay. Now, it is true that compromises and conflicts will begin, and you'll try to bring about your intellectual prowess, to kind of resolve the conflicts. Right? And then eventually you say, okay, we have a family, we're going to stick it out, see where it goes. This is how our relationship begins. It starts with physical, and then you employ all of your intellectual abilities to preserve what sex has created for you, which is a relationship. Remember, this is the foundation of our relationship. It begins with sex, habits are created, addictions are created, and then you get married. A married life needs money, security, stability, and then you have children. And it's no longer about sex. It's about money and putting your kids in private school, making sure you have rent and utility and food. Okay? This is our relationship. For Socrates and Plato, it's reversed. Now remember, this is Plato, here is Socrates. Plato lives in iron, bronze, and silver. Socrates lives in gold. Plato is like Gilgamesh. He lives in civilization with all of its corruptness. Walks around the lake, sees people smoking and drinking and being foul-mouthed, all that stuff. So Socrates is the Enkidu in Gilgamesh. He lives in the forest. He is innocent. He doesn't care for anything down here. Do you see? His agenda is very different. He doesn't want to have sex with you. He doesn't want your money. He doesn't care about your family. Your life for Socrates is irrelevant. It's meaningless. It's cheap. Because he knows the outcome of the iron, bronze, and silver. Now you can have great sex. You can go to the best fun parties around. Everything down here has an expiration date. It's like milk. 2 weeks later, you're tired. You can make money and be extremely happy and proud. 3 weeks later, you come to you and say, what am I going to do with all this money? I've made the money, but I hate my job. You imagine, fantasize about, so the expiration date of this is about, let's say, 2 years. The expiration date of a family life, okay, so you get busy with the hustle and bustle of your family life, and you have moments, you sit on the sofa and you say, really? Is this going to be my life for the next 40 years? And then you get depressed. Right? So the expiration date for this is about 5 to 6 years. Okay? Socrates knows the disease in all these 3 stages. There is Plato. Now, I don't know why we are in this way. I don't know why when I watch certain movies, like if you've seen, say, The Scent of a Woman, Al Pacino, for those of you who have, the last scene when he's giving a sermon on the stage, okay? It's an impassionate speech. It's about justice. It's about education. It's about the human spirit. It is moving. I'm not African American. I'm not American. And yet when I sit and watch that 20-minute video of Martin Luther's dream speech, I am moved. There is something inside all of us. It's not even in our control. You see beauty in iron, you are moved. You see beauty in bronze, you have no choice but to be moved. You see a man and a woman and a few kids holding hands and having fun, you are moved. You become envious, jealous. You go back in time and you say, why can't I have those things? It is equally true that when you see Socrates, you say, well, it's not about sex for him. It's not about money for him. It's not about children and wife or husband for him. And yet there is something inside him that's beautiful. These 3 areas of life, you can see, taste, touch, smell. What Socrates has, it is beyond the 5 senses. And yet we have the capacity to recognize it. And that's the mysterious part. Now, what makes the relationship between Socrates and Plato a little strange is the following. Socrates does not look like Brad Pitt. He doesn't look like George Clooney. He is ugly. I don't know if you guys have seen the new image of Jesus Christ put together by anthropologists. That if you have, supposedly it came from a place called Palestine, right? If you have Palestine and it's hot and it's humid and it's dry, and if all the Palestinians look like me, brown, with dark hair, and perhaps green or dark eyes, why is Jesus white? Why is he so good looking? Because that's not what desert life looks like. Desert life does not make attractive people, unless it's just an accident. They are rough and rugged. Otherwise you won't survive. And so, if you look at the new image of Jesus Christ, you'll be horrified by how unattractive this man is. And then the question before you is the following. How could human beings, we are sensory people, we are guided by our 5 senses. And these 5 senses recognize beauty and pleasure when they see it. Okay? Why is it that when you look at someone as unattractive as Socrates or a Jesus Christ, why is it that you and I are gravitating towards these people? What is it that they have? What is it inside us that slowly walks towards these people? And so the relationship for Plato and Socrates, it begins with this dim sense of agape. There is this mystery inside me that has come to life upon seeing Socrates. Okay? Now remember, Plato is 17 or 18. Socrates is about 70 or 60. Okay? Their relationship is not founded on sex, on money, on family life. it's a completely different way of getting into a relationship. Okay, so it begins with this inspired agape or divinity that lives inside both of them. In Hinduism, they have a word called namaste. I don't know if you go to, say, an Indian restaurant, or you have some Indian friends, or you are walking around the lake and two Indians come upon each other and they go like this and they say namaste to each other. In Sanskrit, it means the God within me sees and recognizes the God within you and bows to it. There is something about Plato that is divine. There is something about Socrates that is divine. Socrates knows what he has. He can't speak of it. He can't put it into language. Okay? Plato has no idea what he has, but he has an intuitive feeling. Okay? So it starts with agape. It moves into philo, a friendship where the friend, i.e. Socrates, gives you wisdom. Not sex, not money, okay, not a family life, but he gives you wisdom. That becomes the riches that he has, that you're slowly inheriting. And then it's eros. Now, the eros part of the relationship is very, very, very strange. Let me give this to you in a way that many of us in this class who've been in a relationship can understand. When you fall in love with someone, okay? Now, I don't really know what love is. I don't know how it's created. But when you fall in love with someone, you want to be around their physical body all the time. If they're not there physically, you begin to read all the texts that the both of you have exchanged. If you don't have access to your phone, for example, you sit somewhere, you close your eyes, turn off the lights, and begin to fantasize. There is his physical body, there am I, we're laying down in the sun somewhere, and we're drinking or having fun. Okay? The moment you fall in love, you become attracted to someone, you want to be around them all the time. The only difference is this. If eros happens to be the guiding force in your relationship, there is an expiration point, okay? There comes a point where you say, I've been around them too much, I need some space. This happens after 2 weeks, okay? It doesn't take very much for you and I to grow tired of, regardless of how much money we make, we say, I am losing my soul, my creativity, my passion. Whatever was interesting about this job, it's no longer that interesting, okay? You can be interested in going somewhere and buying, say, futons for your house, sofas and rugs for your house. You come home exhausted. All right? When it comes to Socrates, the story is different. You want to be around him all the time. You have no idea what he's given you. But this inspiration that revolves around agape is something that iron, bronze, and silver will never in 1,000 years be able to give you. So their relationship is upside down. It starts with agape and slowly moves up. Ours, it starts with the most shallow, superficial, cheap, ridiculous, absurd. And it doesn't evolve into anything that's good. Especially these days. Okay? So, let me quickly then kind of describe the best I can what happens to Plato and what Socrates does to him. Do you have any questions before? Okay. Again, don't forget the history that you and I create in the iron, bronze, and silver. Without them, you'd be nobody. You would have no identity, no history. You would have no emotions, nothing to think about, no direction, no purpose. So despite all the negative things that I may have said about these three stages, they guide our life. You are here because you want to be in the bronze. You want stability. Okay? All the memories and emotions you have in your relationships, it started with sex, with physical attraction. The best thing that most of us in this class are hoping for, to have a relatively healthy and decent family life. So you need to understand how devastating it is for someone like a Jesus or a Socrates to come down and say, listen, don't be interested in iron or bronze or silver. It's nearly impossible. Okay? So this is Plato. This is Socrates. There is, let's just say, the son that lives inside Socrates. Plato is walking around, looks at Socrates. Remember, he is physically unattractive. There is in fact a story that it was dark at night, okay? He was walking in an alley, Socrates was, and a couple of people see him. They get closer to Socrates and they imagine or assume upon seeing his face in this darkness that it's actually an animal, a monster, a hideous figure. So they run away. That's how ugly this man is. Okay? Whatever Socrates has inside him has the power to overcome the five senses that live inside Plato. A different version of beauty consumes Plato. So the first stage of moving towards love is called attraction. If you're not attracted, you're not moved. And that's true for everything that you and I do under the sun. You are here because money attracts you. You are here because stability attracts you. You are here because your mom told you and you don't want to see her sad. So when you say, I just got back from school, and she smiles, that is attractive to you. Okay. Now here's the thing you need to understand. And that goes back to your question to some extent, Rebecca. Socrates has something. That something, in modern capitalistic language, we call it a product. He has a product. And he wants to sell what he has. For you to get an A in this class, you need to sell something to me. That's your time. That's your energy. Instead of going home and focusing on your work, you need to focus on the subject for this class. That is what you need to give me to receive an A. Okay? Socrates has something, and that's called the gold, wisdom. Okay? I don't know what it is, but that is what he has. He wants to give it away. But, as you have the saying in the Gospels, do not give that which is holy unto dogs. Okay? This is something that women really understand well, especially women who've been in relationships. Okay? You come to a certain point where you realize your body is sacred. You just don't want to trash it. You just don't want to give it to any man out there. If at the age of 18, you just simply became attracted to someone, and 2 weeks later, you slept with him, and then that didn't work out too well for you, were brokenhearted, and then you kind of just went with different people and slept with them. At the age of 25, 26, you kind of come to yourself and say, what the hell am I doing? It's a very different phenomenon for men. Men don't get to this stage until they're almost dead. Okay, women, at a certain point they say, I don't want to give my body, my heart, my mind to simply any man. I want to make sure that they're simply not about sex and partying. They're simply not about making money. That when they look upon me, they see me and I can see them as a potential companion, a father to my kid. Okay? That is a place where women usually reach around 27, 28. In this culture, of course, when they reach 27, 28, they're doomed because you don't find mature men, because that's not the function of this particular culture. All right? Now, Socrates does not want to give away his goods so that people can trash them. Okay? Now, look, some of you in this class have journals. Okay? They contain secrets to your life. Now, some of you are introverts, which means that naturally, organically, you just don't like to share. Okay, so you keep a book. Some of you move towards having a journal because you had an experience. It was somewhat painful. You tried to share them with other people, only to realize they are being misunderstood. And they're giving you advice that you didn't ask for. So you moved into frustration, anger, and they say, you know what? I'm not going to talk to people about my stuff. I'm just going to write them in a book. Even at your stage, you came to realize that you've had certain experiences. They are sacred to you. And when you just give them away to people, what usually happens is they trash them, disrespect them, dishonor them. All right? So it becomes just you and your notebook. Socrates does not want to give away his wisdom cheaply. Okay? He comes to realize that Plato, for some strange reason, is attracted to him. Now that is what he's looking for. If attraction has been created, remember now, there is one Socrates, okay? And it's a tiny little seed that he has put inside Plato. That tiny seed has to compete with all the components in the iron, all the components in the bronze, and all the components in the silver. Imagine, for example, that I am good at what I do, and some of you are, in fact, interested and attracted to this particular class and the way it's been presented to you. You are here twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, from 9 to 10:15. I have a relative amount of your attention for about 3 hours a week. That is it. A week has about 260 hours, plus or minus. Out of the 260 hours that the week gives you, I only have 3 hours, which means that you have about 257 hours to yourself. The 3 hours that you spend in this class will never be able to survive in your world. It's impossible. Regardless of how exciting, how inspirational our conversation is in this class, once you leave this room, the hustle and bustle of your life will take over. Your attention will go away. Once in a while, you'll find yourself in a coffee shop or somewhere talking to your friends about this class you're taking with this crazy guy. But that is it. Okay? I asked Toby, so what's your plan? I'm moving to Washington or Oregon. Why? I'm doing something with fire. Now, I'm trying to be respectful. He's a nice guy. There's no crime in him having hopes and dreams about being a firefighter. Okay. But I'm not really interested in that. It may be interesting for him. It may even fit his temperament in his life. He doesn't fit mine. Which means that even if he was to be excited about some of the ideas in this class, they will not last inside him. Okay? So Socrates has come to realize there is a seed called attraction inside Plato. What does he need to do? If you like a guy or a gal and they happen to be what you call hot, and you've spent like 2 hours with them, and you've exchanged numbers, and the party's over and each of you are going your own separate ways, there comes a point where you kind of get frightened. Is he going to text me? Am I going to be forgotten? So what do? You text him. Hi, remember me? Joanna? I just want to say hello, and it's so good to meet you. What you're saying is, please don't forget me. You're nourishing the seed of attraction. Okay? Now and how do you nourish the seed of attraction? You have to spend physical time. If they don't see you with their eyes, if they don't hear you with their ears, if they don't smell you with their nose, you will be forgotten. You occupy such a tiny space inside them. You have an avalanche of silver, bronze, and iron. Okay? If you want the attraction to survive inside them, you spend time. You are with the people who you are with because you spend time with them. When you spend time with them, you create psychological narratives, stories that keep the relationship intact, keep them alive. Okay? Now, as Socrates spends more time with Plato. Now remember, Plato has no idea why he's attracted. Okay? So he is in bed, for example, with, I don't know, let's just call her Doris. They're in bed together. They're having lots of fun. And all of a sudden Plato says, I went to the market today. There was this old, ugly-looking guy. But for some strange reason, I keep thinking about him. And Doris says, Plato, are you gay? No, I'm not talking like that. I'm just saying, I don't know what he had, despite being so unattractive, hideous looking. He has magic inside him, and I don't know what that is. Okay? Now, it doesn't happen very often, say once every blue moon, all right? Now, in order for Socrates to protect the seed that he has put inside Plato, he spends time with him. And he has to be a con artist. You need to understand, all relationships have a great amount of politics in it. If you like someone and you send them a text, it's your bait. If you invite them to dinner, it's your bait. If you take a shower and wash your hair, it's your bait. And your hope and prayer is that hopefully they will bite. Okay? Now, as time is spent here, attraction evolves. It's called curiosity. You don't become curious about sex or partying. You don't become curious about making more money or less money. You don't become curious about your wife or your children or your parents. You become curious about Socrates. You need to understand, okay? You are ascending, moving up towards monogamy. Socrates wants you all to himself, okay? If you have ran into someone who has gold inside them, they are jealous. They do not desire to be shared. Okay? Love does not desire itself to be defiled by casual sex. Love does not desire to be defiled by money, by arrogance. Love does not desire to be defiled by your wife or husband taking you to Costco, by your children taking you to the park. Love wants you all to itself, all consuming. It's like a moth being attracted to the fire, to the point that the moth is willing to sacrifice its life. Okay. Socrates wants to get rid of Plato and everything that lives inside Plato and replace everything inside with himself. And once in a while in human history, we have those narratives. Okay? Now, curiosity. Now, this is Plato. Okay? He comes to you whole, 100%, with iron, bronze, and silver. That's what Plato is. Attraction. If this is 100%, it all of a sudden makes 90% iron, bronze, and silver. 10% of Plato belongs to Socrates. But Socrates is greedy. He wants more than 10%. As they spend more time and curiosity comes into the play, you know what happens? Instead of spending 5 hours thinking about what you're going to do with your companion, which party you're going to go to, instead of spending 10 hours thinking about that, 10 hours making money, or 10 hours trying to figure out what to do with your parents, you spend 5 of those hours thinking about Plato, about Socrates. Socrates is slowly invading many parts of you. He's a ghost inside your machine, and it's no longer up to you at this stage. You keep thinking about Socrates, being curious. Why am I moving there? He keeps telling me that sex is bad. I love sex, but I'm not really interested in it anymore about it. Why? I love money, but for some strange reason, I don't want to pursue money that much. Why? And your parents get worried. And remember, every time you leave Socrates, you go home with questions. And you ask your mom, you ask your dad, you ask your friends. And people begin to make fun of you. And you experience loneliness. To some extent, even despair. Okay? And you hate the fact that this man has done this thing to you. You want to go back to your life and enjoy sex, enjoy drinking and smoking, enjoy making money and going to school, sitting in stupid classes, enjoy being with your family. But Socrates is beginning to ruin all of those things for you. And the more of Socrates you have inside you, the less meaning iron, bronze, and silver has in your world. And you need to understand how devastating it is. Where you go home, look at your companion, and feel absolutely nothing. Right? Now, from attraction comes curiosity. But remember again what I said about Socrates. He is jealous, and we're out of time. This is so upsetting. Any questions or comments? Well, have a nice weekend. Don't get sick. Take care of your parents, your children, your husbands and your wives. Have a safe trip. Toby, tell your father I said hi. Thank you. Take care. Thank you.